take a look at this video someone sent to me.
I had a question about the gay agenda.
Mm-hmm.
You thanked it at the VMAs. What is it? How do you define the gay agenda?
Oh, the gay agenda. There's been this plan. Like, we usually go to meetings on Wednesday in black cloaks.
Okay.
Draw like a big star in the circle on the ground. We have like these cups of blood, drink it pretty much. And we kind of like plan like world domination, like to make everyone gay and then like decrease the world population.
Decrease the world population.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, got it.
So do you think your music videos are making kids gay?
I think my music videos are making everyone gay, and obviously people can turn gay due to a music video.
Scientifically proven.
Yeah, it's been proved in science a million times.
Yeah, you're right. You can't argue with science.
You cannot argue with science.
Also, would love an invite to that meeting on Wednesdays. I mean, how do you
have
get
a
in?
cloak? Need a black cloak?
Yeah, I mean, I'll order one on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. And a cup of blood. It
And
needs to be a golden cup.
Okay, got it.
No silver. Oh my God, they hate silver.
I'll go to Party City. You got it. Gold. Okay.
I've got one that can see.
So I don't know if you guys know who Lil Nas X is. I know you guys are generally a little bit older than me. So he's like a famous rapper. He just started coming up. And he was the one that made that music video twerking on Satan's lap that we showed. And he was selling those shoes. Anyway, did you guys hear what he said? He said basically like, you know, whether it's a joke or not, a lot of people might think it's a joke. They said make everybody gay to help reduce the population. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about. So there's this chart that was put out by Maps and More. They have an Instagram page and they put out like little statistics with maps and stuff. And it's interesting to get like a global perspective on how the global cultures are shaping society. And they got this source from Spartacus International Gay Guide. And so I just looked it up to cross-verify it. And it shows basically what parts of the world accept gay versus others, right? So I link all these references beneath this video posted to my Rumble where you can further check it out too, okay? So here's a global map, and the green is where it's more accepted. The orange parts are where it's least accepted, and they show you all the way back to 2012. So this is what it looked like in 2012, right? The orange parts is where it's not as accepted, right? Generally, the only difference that I'm seeing over the past few years is it's just getting more polarized, right? Like the Western green parts are just getting like greener and the orange parts are just getting more orange. So whatever we're doing, all it's doing is just polarizing us more. It's not really making too much of an impact, from my opinion, on analyzing this. Everybody, I encourage you, give your own interpretation and research for yourself too, right? And then they show parts of America in a map further down on this page. So I'm bringing this up because we had Madonna that just recently we discovered, right, going over to Malawi, which is like right down here. And global organizations are accusing her of not only doing like illegal things, but they're concerned that she's using these children to bring about a certain agenda in the world. And that is basically, it's disrespecting the culture of the area because it goes against the laws. And that is all a part of their culture, right? There's like 56 other countries in the world where you can adopt out when you're gay. But these specific countries that they're going to are ones where gay is not accepted. And then they're trying to change that, it almost seems like, which leave it up to your interpretation, whatever you think, whether that's a good thing that they're trying to change it or it's a bad thing. But I'm going to explain to you that in these particular areas, they tend to be more poor, right? We're looking at very impoverished places within Africa. I have done a lot of traveling in Africa. My sister lived there for many years. I know some people that still do, they live half their life there, and they do a lot of like service and humanity work. Like, for example, in the Congo, there's people that are literally just dying on the streets because there's just no food and no health care. It's rampant. And the war in Ukraine, it has prevented a lot of food from getting to these places where they can't grow it. And it's just only made the situation in these countries worse, right? So the wars and things that the Western countries are doing is making it harder and harder for places like this to liberate. So the Western green parts, we are like, whether we are aware of it or not, either indirectly or directly, we are making it so much harder for places like the orange to liberate, to live financially in a comfortable place, and they don't have to live day to day trying to figure out where they're going to get their next meal. The reason why these places are orange and they need to have a more of a conservative family construct, they can't have gay, is for survival. The families have to have like 5, 6, 7, 10 kids because they know like a lot of them die when they're babies. So they have to make sure that one will at least be able to survive and live up to adulthood so they can then take care of the parents. And that is the issue with the global overpopulation that they're saying. They're saying, oh, there's too many people, overpopulation, we have to reduce the population. Well, if we liberated these countries instead of suppressed them, the population would all naturally balance out on its own. But the issue that we're seeing here is we have global elitists trying to go in and make them gay. And when you make them gay, that's going to erase their culture and that population from the planet altogether. If these places become gay, they will die out. You will not see these locations of people. They will all be gone because they don't have basic health care or basic food. These families need to be producing like 10 children each in order to live on and have someone to take care of them. Going in and trying to make them gay is going to eliminate them. So when he says we are working on making the world gay and reduce the population, it makes sense based off of what we are seeing them actively do. Okay, being gay seems like a luxury. As a result, that's why the Western countries, the ones that are wealthier, well off, the ones that are able to travel more, these green ones, that's why they're green, because they have the ability. They don't need to produce children in order to keep their family lines surviving. Like in South America, for example, you see the Biden administration going in and they're funding many drag shows because they're trying to change it. And once we liberate these countries, get them they're literally starving to death. It's like one of the main ways that they're dying in these countries, and no health care. Once we change that, once we stop having the wars that are cutting off their food supply, things will naturally balance out, right? And they'll be able to be gay if they want to. But going in and trying to force it is literally going to kill them off even more. So we have, let me see. Right, so all in all, elites should be working to help liberate these countries. And another way that we can do that is grow our food locally, mine locally, oil drill locally. Because when we export all of this, it's making the poor people of all these countries become slaves to the system. And they're doing it on very low pay. So if we do it all locally, it will help. So elites in America and Western countries, they think they got it all figured out.
Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Good afternoon. I am Malens. My country is called Sierra Leone. The land is golden, literally, a true paradise. We have a very strong cultural heritage. In fact, Sierra Leone had the first sub-Saharan university. Prior to that, there was one in the Kingdom of Timbuktu, which was the first university in the world, succeeding the great Gnostic schools of Egypt and Osiris. On a deeper level, we are blessed with the real treasures the kings and queens of this world desire. This was the largest alluvial diamond ever found. It weighs almost 1,000 carats, 969 to be precise. This beauty was found by an old lady in her backyard about 2 years ago, 125 carats. Some people mine gold in their backyards. That's quite common. Besides gold and diamonds, we have about 20 precious minerals that have been discovered as of today. We recently started extracting huge petroleum reserves that have been discovered. We have platinum, ilmenite to make titanium, rutile to coat jets, iron ore, the largest iron ore deposits in Africa, the third largest in the world. Tantalite, also known as coltan, used in your mobile phones and computers. Bauxite for aluminum production. Zinc, chrome ore, copper, coal, phosphates, potassium, salt, lead, granite, asbestos, nickel, zircon. Furthermore, we have exquisite timber like mahogany and teak. Of course, the West needs Africa's resources most desperately to power airplanes, cell phones, computers, and engines. And the gold and diamonds, of course, a status symbol to determine their powers by their core and to give value to their currencies. One thing that keeps me puzzled, despite having studied finance and economics at the world's best universities, the following question remains unanswered. Why is it that 5,000 units of our currency is worth 1 unit of your currency, where we are the ones with the actual gold reserves? It's quite evident that the aid is in fact not coming from the West to Africa, but from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here. So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically destabilizing the wealthiest African nations and their systems, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying and merely surviving on the mercy of the West. Well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-million-dollar advertisement campaigns depicting charity porn to sustain that image of Africa globally. Ad campaigns paid for by innocent people under the impression to help with their donations. While one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows. It's super sweet of you to come with your colored paper in exchange for our gold and diamonds. But instead, you should come empty-handed, filled with integrity and honor. We want to share with you our wealth and invite you to share with us. The perception is that a healthy and striving Africa would not disperse its resources as freely and cheaply, which is logical. Of course, it would instead sell its resources at world market prices, which in turn would destabilize and weaken Western economies, established on the post-colonial free meal system. Last year, the IMF reports that 6 out of 10 of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa, measured by their GDP growth. The French Treasury, for example, is receiving about $500 billion, year in, year out, foreign exchange reserves from African countries based on colonial debt they forced them to pay. Former French President Jacques Chirac stated in an interview recently that we have to be honest and acknowledge that a big part of the money in our banks comes precisely from the exploitation of the African continent. In 2008, he stated that without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of a third world power. This is what happens in the human world, the world we have created. Have you ever wondered how things work in nature? One would assume that in evolution the fittest survives. However, in nature, any species that is overhunting, overexploiting the resources they depend on as nourishment, natural selection would sooner or later take the predator out because it offsets the balance.
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices. And after those countries finished industrialization, then Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role, just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. The currencies are collapsing of these countries, and many of them are Sub-Saharan African countries. After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep these countries where they were. Okay? And the first of those is aid. Okay, we give them aid. Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan, they were killed. It's just economics. It's economic warfare. The rich declare war on the poor. It happens everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do. You really believe you have democracy? Come on. I mean, grow up. Who has all the subsidies and income support? US, Europe. The largest budgets in the world for supporting their farmers are Europe and US. You see, we're keeping them dependent. We're keeping them on a string. This next round of the WTO is designed to block that. To block anyone else.
A target in a lot of states by Republicans. This is African American Studies, which is different. A Democratic Florida state senator. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about critical race theory, and that was a focus of a target in a lot of states by Republicans. This is African American Studies, which is different. A Democratic Florida state senator tweeted that Florida currently has AP classes for European history, Japanese language and culture, German language and culture, Italian language and culture, as well as Spanish language and culture, adding, quote, it's crazy how AP African American Studies made the chopping block in Florida. To that, what do you say?
Yeah, so Anderson and to Bakari as well. Bakari, I did, believe it or not, read the 82-page syllabus today, which I could send to you. And the letter that was sent to the AP board says, listen, we dismiss this as presented. In the future, if the College Board would like to work with us on something that would meet our criteria, we'd be happy to consider it again. And from what I was told, Anderson and Bakari, this was declined because it sought to teach progressive doctrines such as intersectionality and critical race theory, which are violative of April 2022 law the Governor DeSantis sent, this anti-woke act. I'm not, I'm simply telling you that I've not delved in and read every chapter of the syllabus, but I glanced through it. It's pretty dense. And I'm telling you what the reason was that the state of Florida, Governor DeSantis said that they believe in education and not indoctrination.
Bakari, what do you make of that?
We just got done celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday, and you have individuals who say these quotes of, the I Have a Dream speech, etc., these famous quotes by King, but they don't even know who he was because we don't teach the history correctly. People whitewash his legacy. They don't talk about the fact that he was a rabid revolutionary. They don't talk about the fact that he was talking about wages, improving the plight of black folk day in and day out. And I think that the fact that we refuse to teach the accurate history of this country, we refuse to talk about April 4th, 1968, where Dr. King was assassinated, February 8th, 68, the Orangeburg Massacre. We refuse to talk about June of that year where RFK was shot, or the fact that you have all of these black soldiers coming home from a war in Vietnam being treated like second-class citizens. That's not, something that is a fairy tale. That is a history of who we are. And Ron DeSantis and this administration in Florida are completely ignorant to that fact. Everything we talk about our history and who we are is not critical race theory. My being is not critical race theory. It's American history. Wrap your heads around that. If you're ashamed of it, that's on you. But let's at least educate the youth the correct way about what our history is.
America is not a racist country.
Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him, and show him my salvation.